Welcome to the CommunicationDiva Podcast, episode 44. Today's episode is an interview with Sonia Nadina Haynes, who has written a book entitled The Power of Money, about her take on, well, the power of money. I don't know. Is it faster than a speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound? And perhaps most importantly, how does money look in blue tights and a red cape?
Hey, this is Jenn Swanson, and welcome to the CommunicationDiva Podcast, the podcast that helps you to improve your relationship by improving your communication skills, or even just talking about communication skills and learning a little bit new. I'm so glad that you're joining me today, and I am coming to you on a very wet, very rainy day. But some of you have been asking, and we did not get affected by the major earthquake that happened here on Saturday night. It happened in a place called Haida Gwaii, which is quite a ways from where I'm living. And some of the people around here, however, did feel it if they were up higher in buildings. But it happened about 8:15 on Saturday night, and my family was all in a one-story building in North Vancouver, watching our son in a musical theater production at his university. So we were not feeling it, and even if that tremor had happened, we probably wouldn't have noticed, because there were 20 some odd young people dancing and cavorting around on a stage, and it was quite loud, and we would have thought it was probably part of that. So but it sounds like not much damage has occurred. Nobody was hurt. And for a 7.7 on the Richter scale, I think we got off easy. So I know that there are a lot of people running around looking for supplies to fill kits that haven't been filled. And I definitely have things like water and granola bars and a hand crank radio on my to-do list, as I'm sure many other people do. So I don't know. I guess I better get busy this week and do that, hey? So today I am going to bring you an interview that I did just a few days ago, last week, with a woman named Sonia Nadina Haynes. And she has a book that she has written called The Power of Money. And she talks about how you see money is how you see yourself. Now, with many of the podcasts that I do, I have known the people in advance and have met them through different circumstances, and this is different. Sonia found me through the website, through CommunicationDiva, and had listened to some of the episodes, and reached out and wanted to have a conversation. Now, I must say that some of what she talks about is not my perspective, and so I'm just saying that we all have different views of things and different life experiences. I don't think I've hidden the fact that one of the jobs that I have is in youth ministry, and I work in a United Church, which is a Christian denomination, fairly liberal, Christian denomination here in Canada. And so my thinking on some of the things as far as community and individuality and that, I think is a little bit different. But I do think that Sonia had some interesting things to say. And so I'm bringing you this podcast interview, and I really would value your feedback. Let us know what you think. Let me know. Let Sonia know. She has a website as well, and I'll put all the links to that on CommunicationDiva.com. And I think it's good once in a while to listen to different perspectives and hear a variety of things, and for people to start conversations about these things. So I am delighted to bring you this interview. I really enjoyed our conversation, and I had a lovely time with Sonia, and I hope that you will come and let us know what your thoughts are on the power of money. So I'm here with Sonia Nadina Haynes, and we are sitting in a cafeteria area of a college, and so there's a little bit of noise here, but it's not too bad. And we are here in downtown Vancouver, and I want to say welcome.
Hello. Hi.
So thank you for coming over here, and I'm going to jump right into talking about your book, The Power of Money. How you see money is how you see yourself. And I want to ask you, what inspired you to write this book?
Yes, it's a very, very long story. I left BC and I went to Japan, and then I went to Australia, and I traveled around Australia for about 10 months. And while I was doing that, I met all different types of people who had seemed to have different issues with money. The people who had money had issues with money. The people who didn't have money had issues with money. So I observed all of this, and from it came the idea that I should write a book addressing all these different people's perspectives and unconscious imprinting or, mindset around money. Yeah.
So how long did it take you to write it?
I'm ashamed to say 2 weeks.
Why would you be ashamed to say that?
Well, you hear people labor on a book for years and years and years. The basis of the book was written in 2 weeks. The editing took a lot longer, but the book itself was written in very short space of time. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. And so it's new in 2012, is that right?
Yes, the revised edition is 2012, where I basically went back through the book, corrected, because the first edition was 2002, so 10 years. I corrected some typos, and I added some more information based on what I've experienced or observed with people since. So it's been a quite an exciting experience taking that journey. Yeah.
And so you've been working with people all this time as a life coach, doing work on this and probably many other topics as well. Is that why you wrote this book?
Yes, I have been working with people since 1996. I am what I guess I call an intuitive life coach. So the noise is getting a bit loud. So I've worked with people to help them shed the unconscious imprinting. And it's really cool because you're the communication diva, and this is a communication with the self. Whereas people think of communication with the external world, this is a communication that you have with your inner self, speaking to your inner child, connecting with who you are so that you can understand yourself better. Because over the Temple of Delphi it said, know thyself and you will know the universe. And basically that's it. If we know ourselves, then we have the power to shift and change our worlds to make it exactly what we want.
Yeah, I just finished teaching a class this afternoon that was about communications. It was our last day together, this group, and we were talking about how you can only change yourself. You can't change anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jackson, if I want to change the world, I'll start with the man in the mirror, and that's exactly right. And I also say that, and again, it goes to the book, The Power of Money, is that your external world is reflecting your unconscious belief system, or should I say our external world is reflecting our unconscious belief system. It's funny, we talk about the law of attraction, and people think the law of attraction is basically attracting millions of dollars, but we're actually attracting exactly what we're thinking every moment of every day. So if we're thinking negative thoughts, for example, and I've had many people who have gone to job interviews and they call me and talk to me before they go, and they're not sure whether they're going to make it, and is that guy going to like me, or is that lady? And I say, the first thing you need to do is to decide that you're the gift to that company. And the minute you have that conversation with yourself, which means you then believe it, then when you walk into the room, your attitude changes, the way you hold yourself changes, and then the interviewer will actually see you in a positive light, because interviewers read energy. They look at your resume and they look at it and they read what you have to say, but they're watching your body language. They're watching whether you're confident with yourself, whether you have the ability to represent their company in the way that in a very positive way, in a very confident way. So it's basically the same thing, really. Yeah.
So there's no guarantees you'll get the job, but you might have a way better chance.
Absolutely. And, as I said, if the job that you want, you will attract it to you when you have the right attitude within yourself. So you won't waste your time going to a job that you don't want. That's the difference, right? You will know within yourself directly, this is the direction I want to take. This is the job I'm going for. And when you do it, that's what occurs.
So it's aligning yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So who are the people that you wrote this for?
I wrote the book for young people. Well, people going through financial transition, but it's interesting because there are a bunch of stuff that's happened in the last little while. I wrote the book for young people who are leaving high school and stepping out into the world and not sure what they want to do, who end up, and the hope is that they choose not to waste thousands of dollars on going to take general studies in university till they figure out what it is they want to do. I wrote the book for individuals who have money or have made money and then they end up losing it. I wrote it so that they would figure out what's going on inside of themselves so that they can shift. Again, you use the word align. They can align themselves to the prosperity that comes into their lives. So I use the word money on the book, and it's a very provocative word, and I did it deliberately. I did it because money is a touchy subject. The word is very touchy for people. And I want people to recognize that money is actually just a tool. Just like a pen you use to write with is a tool. It helps us to be able to live our lives in the way we choose. And I wrote it for the individual who may make $500 a month and choose to live in the bushes, to the person who makes $5 million a month and choose to live in a penthouse. I wrote it for all these individuals. All they need to do is to align themselves to their dreams, to what it is they want in their lives, and to not look at the person in the penthouse, not look down on the person who was making $500 and say, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you going high? And that person who was in the little cottage in the woods, not looking up at the guy who was making that much money and say, who do you think you are? You think you're better than me. It's basically for all of us to be comfortable within ourselves about what we want, about achieving what we want, and especially for women. I want women to recognize that we have the ability to achieve anything we want, and we need to align ourselves, our mindset towards what we want, so that we don't go out into the world and say, well, I'm not going to have it because that guy, that guy's standing in the way. When we have that proper mindset, then we will actually find that we're moving forward in a very positive way.
So you don't think that we're there yet in 2012?
Look at what's happening in the world. I mean, this young girl, Malala, I think is her name, she got shot because she's talking about being a woman, being a female in her culture. In our world, women are still seeing themselves, and I guess I should say we're still seeing ourselves, but women are still seeing ourselves as being limited. We're still seeing it as a man's world. And it's not about men changing the world. It's about us deciding that we are the force to be reckoned with, or we are part of this force on the planet. So we haven't quite developed that internal confidence as yet to change the world, but I know we're getting there. Yeah, we're almost there.
So do you see money as energy as well?
Money is energy, absolutely. Some people do not honor their skills and their gifts enough, so they tend to undervalue themselves. But if they were getting money, they'd actually value themselves better. And that's the thing. It's literally basically a valuation, on what we on our gifts and our skills, on ourselves, basically. So we have coins and paper, but different countries, the coins and the paper look different, right? So let's recognize that what we're calling money is a generic valuation that we put on everything that we have and what we do. Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that you talk about with money in your book is an attitude to money, and different attitudes to money. And you talk about fear, and you talk about self-limiting beliefs. And I wonder if you could say something about that.
Yes, self-limiting beliefs based on fear. Okay, when we're little, when we were children, many of us grew up in families where, generationally we came from wars, World Wars I, II, Vietnam War, the stock market crash, and we are the result of such. And, I don't know, there are a lot of people who will remember being told, eat up your peas, but don't forget those poor kids in Africa. Or, we can't afford this even though there's money there. I've met a lot of clients who carry a lot of anger towards their parents for not giving them things. But mom and dad were the results of watching their parents go through receivership, for example. And when mom and dad went through receivership, the pain that they experienced, they actually started to hold back. We didn't understand it when we were children, or these individuals didn't understand it. So they carried the fear that there'll never be enough. There'll never be enough. And from that fear, that belief system, they become either hoarders or they overspend. So that specific situation defines how they value themselves. Another thing, we are the thing that we are selling. Okay, so if you do a painting, for example, and artists are notorious for selling their work for nothing. If you create a painting, that is you, that is your energy, your power, your strength, your everything coming out, your emotions being put in color on canvas or paper. But if you don't value yourself, when you look at that canvas, you won't see the value in it either. And so when someone comes in, they ask you how much is it, you say, well, give me what you think. I've heard a lot of people say that. And that limiting belief system, the person will now goes, this is the unfortunate thing. That individual, you say, give me what you think. They'll then try to figure out, what should I give? I don't want to give too much to him so that I offend you, and I don't want to give too little so that I don't value you. So you're putting the value of yourself onto the other person and leaving them to create the value of yourself. And if you don't know it, how can they give it? So that limiting belief system is actually stopping you from having full value for that piece that you've created. The challenge is that they give you, the piece may be worth, you spent, 20 hours on it. If you say 20 hours, $10 an hour, we don't do that low, but we'll say $10 an hour, 20 hours, that's $200. Yeah. Then you have all the canvas and the paint. So let's say the value is around $300 that you've spent on this, but the person gives you $50. Can you feel it? It's the anger will come up, the feeling of I'm not good enough comes up, and literally we start to retreat into ourselves. We didn't look at the value, and we did not say out loud, this is a value for myself. And because we didn't say that, we leave it up to the rest of the world to value us. I mean, it's a really to me a very sad thing, and that limiting belief system is what's caused the planet to be where it is today. Yeah.
And are there other types of limiting beliefs or fears around money? I know you've mentioned some.
Yes. The haves, the have-nots, and those doing all right for themselves. Okay, so there's another statement that says that when a person wins a lottery or they get an inheritance, they tend to blow through it in no time. The reason why they do that is, and I hear a lot of stars, film stars, actors, they make this statement, which makes me mad, but okay. They say, I can't believe I'm getting paid this much for this, to do what I do. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people who are wealthy who carry guilt about being in the position that they are. The person who ends up winning the lottery, they feel guilt that, why me? Why am I the one who's chosen? And yet they spent 10 years buying and spending $2 on a lottery ticket so that eventually they win it, right? And this unfortunate guilt that they carry about having what they want, causes them to lose it. On the coast here, there was a family who owned a little corner shop, and the parents played the lotto. I guess the mom played the lotto, and they won. And they didn't tell anybody. Everyone knew that someone on the coast had won, but they didn't tell anybody until, like 4 months later, they disappeared, and the kids were left running the store. And one of the things that they're afraid of is that if I have all this money, everybody's going to show up at my door asking me for help. Everybody. And I think Oprah talked about going through that when she first started to have money come in, and the fear of saying no. What will the fear of judgment when they say no? What will I, if I say no to my aunt who comes in walking on crutches, that will make me a bad person. And they're not recognizing that the guilt that you carry, if you give out of guilt, you're actually giving your guilt with the money. If you give money out of guilt, you're giving the guilt with the money. It's important that we, again, what's in your unconscious mind goes with the energy, the thoughts, go with the thing that you're giving. So, Christmas is coming up. Christmas is big because people put themselves in debt giving gifts that are never even acknowledged or appreciated through the year. They give it out of obligation. And as they give it out of obligation, the receiver feels funny. They can, and I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but you kind of feel, when you watch yourself, when you get a gift and you feel a bit of awkwardness in it, it means that person is giving a gift out of duress. They're giving the gift out of guilt. They think they have to do it. And, I'm unfortunately the kind of person I hand it back.
What about charity then? What about that?
Well, charity, they say, begins at home. And I have very strong views about charity. Charity is fine up to a point. The majority of people who give to charity are the ones who need it the most. For example, I love the people who are philanthropists. They've made their money, they've amassed their wealth, and then they turn around and use their skills and some of the money to help others. And as I said before, when you give out of guilt, it doesn't go anywhere. And I'll give you a strong example. Take Haiti. What kind of position do you think Haiti is in right now? It's pretty much in the same position it was in before the earthquake hit. Now, Haiti is a country that was incredibly poor. So $500,000 going into Haiti would fix it like that. And how many millions of dollars went there? And it's in the same position as it was before. So look at the people who felt sorry for those poor kids, who took the last, $2 in their pockets and threw it in a bowl to help those poor kids. And Haiti is still in the same position. The other thing is when you look at, the charities that bring you the poor kids in Africa or India or wherever they are, it's the same child that they're telling you to support over time. I have a wonderful friend, Joanna Giles. Joanna, I'm talking about you. Who she is someone who was born in wealth. And you know what she did? She took her grandfather's story, Hog Heaven, and she joined forces with a company in Australia where they basically raised funds to build an international school in Nepal. Joanna has taken upon herself through fundraising, through doing special, what do you call it, where you're selling paintings, getting different people to donate various things. She's a good salesperson. And she's now going through India, helping children with cleft palate issues, getting them water. She actually wrote about a family that they put a solar panel on the roof, and for the first time they had an electric light at night. So that's what she's doing. And I think that if we really want to help the planet, I think we need to be more individualistic with it. It meaning that, let's say there's a bunch of girlfriends together and they want to help someone in Africa or India or wherever. They band together. They collect all the clothing that they want. They do a little party. They get some funds together and find a family in a village and take care of that one family. I guarantee you'd see far less poverty on the planet if it's done that way than going through the organizations. But that's my perspective.
So individualistic, you don't mean each person for themselves, because that you're talking about a community gathering to get money to give to an individual family is what you mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that when an individual connects with the person that they're helping, they feel uplifted. When you throw it in a bottle or a jar and it goes to a large corporation and then it disappears, you have nothing to show. You have no good feelings to come from it. We give because we want that feeling of, feel good feeling. And I think I write in the book where, a child, when we give selfishly. Everybody gives selfishly. We give because we want to generate that feel-good emotion within. A child will go out and he will pick dandelions and he'll bring it to mom. And he gives it to mom not because, and yes, he gives it to mom for her because he loves her, but his intention is to draw a smile out of mom so that it validates his existence. That is what's so important, is to be aware of why. If you're giving in an empty hole that you have nothing to no emotional upliftment to show for it, don't do it. That's my perspective.
So it's more about relationship then.
Absolutely. It makes money more precious that way. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, what about the idea that no matter how positive we are and well-intentioned, sometimes stuff happens, and stuff happens that we don't have any control over?
Yeah, and we call that fate. But you know what? If you have a positive attitude to things, when stuff comes up, you sit back, you take a step back, and you observe it, and you look at to see what is it trying to tell me. And as you look at that and you understand that, you're able to breeze through it much better. And I know that because I've lived it. That's why. Yeah.
Okay. I'm in agreement with changing negative thought patterns, because that's what coaching is all about.
Yes.
So I agree with that, helping people to see their inner potential. What I'm not sure I agree with is the idea of me first. And I think the me first attitude, as I understand it, is a large part why our North American society is in the trouble it is economically. And I have a feeling that you don't agree with that. So I'm wondering if you could talk about that.
Okay, well, I understand the me first, what people consider to be the me first approach. And it's quite interesting. Everyone who goes into business or into a contract, they have a specific dream in mind. The first dream, everyone, doesn't matter who it is, the first thing that they want to do is to help their family and friends and themselves. The second thing that they want to do is to help others. And usually when you go into a business and you hire people, it's because, first of all, that you want to help pull someone along, or you want to uplift someone. When the challenges come up, which means you don't know how to say no, you haven't figured out how to say no, you haven't developed your own self-worth understanding your own self-worth. When that occurs, you tend to make, and it's funny because that's the reason why 2008 stock market wobble happened. You tend to make decisions in an attempt to help larger groups of people. So when you make that decision, what it does is, because you have the limited belief system and the reason for doing it is wrong, and I'll talk a little bit about Oprah for a second. The reason for doing it is, I guess I apologize for using the word wrong because it's a word I don't use very much, but we'll use that for now. Your motivation is wrong because you're doing it for others. And the minute you try to do it for others, you get caught up in a net. Right? It's a really unfortunate net. And I'll talk about Oprah for a second. And this is my perspective on it. Oprah decided she wanted to retire. She wanted to look after herself. So that's a positive. She's going to take care of herself. She's given so much to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But she had all these staff members that with her closing her show, what are they going to do? How are they going to manage? So she decided to start her own network to give them work, to keep them employed. And because of that, it's cost her a lot of money. She did it for them. She wanted to pull away, and she couldn't. She's back back in the saddle again. She's back doing exactly what she had decided she didn't want to do. And she's going to have to keep doing that until she changes her mind and decide that I'm going to take this journey for me, the one that I chose to take, and I'm going to leave someone else in place to take on that purpose. And all the people, and again, one of the, and I've read all sorts of interesting books over the years, and in one book, Merlin, and I don't know the title of the book because it was many years ago, but it's always stayed with me. Merlin asked Luther, who, I think he's the one that killed author's mom. But anyway, Merlin asked Luther, he said, you must feel so good about yourself that all these people around you, they look up to you because you've helped them. And Luther stopped and he looked at Merlin for a moment and he said, no, they're the ones I fear the most, because they have a sense of obligation to me. And then whenever a person have a sense of obligation, they start to develop anger and resentment, because I then have to go the distance to make sure they're okay. And if I decide to stop, they're going to be angry at me. And that's, I think, is the reason why everything has fallen apart just now. And I've been writing for a long time that our emotional self has actually affects our financial standing. It affects our financial situation. And Harvard University have actually started to study this. How the emotion affects the physical, affects the financial situation. They've actually studying the 2008 stock market wobble, because some people don't want to call it crash, but they're actually exploring that to look at how our emotions have actually affected it. The minute you make a decision for someone else, that person's life is yours. You owe them. They owe their lives to you. The minute you make a decision for a person, that person's life becomes yours, and you have to spend the effort and time to maintain that person in the standing to which you've put them. Now look out into the world, and if we're going along and we see someone coming up the street and they've got their hands out and they're asking for help, I'm all for helping one another. I just think that we need to look at our motivation when we choose to do it, so we're not debilitating someone. Again, our unconscious world is affecting the world around us. What we think is affecting the world around us. As long as we need to help people in need, the universe will automatically create people for us to help. Do you know that? As long as you need to help people, you will always have people to help. If your intention is to uplift someone, then all you'll be doing is springboarding people up. Do you know what I mean? It's a difference in perspective.
Yeah. I think it is, because I'm thinking of, my belief system and being community being of such value, and the idea that you help one another, and that's just how it works, and that sometimes people who have so much, and there are people that have so little, and the people that have so much could help the people that have so little. I understand that motivation needs to be right, but I still have a little bit of a difficulty with that.
I think your question was, about the individual and community-based.
Yeah, I just wondered if individuality seemed to me to be more of the problem than working as community.
I think that individuality is actually not being used. People are seeing themselves like or as everybody's trying to be like everybody else. Yeah, and when you see yourself as unique, as a unique gift to this planet or to your community, which is how I grew up. I grew up in the hills in Jamaica, and we lived in a community where Farmer Joe, it's harvest time, which is about now. Farmer Joe, he needs to have his potatoes dug up and taken care of. All the farmers got together to Farmer Joe. Now, Farmer Joe is thinking about what he needs. They come together to Farmer Joe's and they help Farmer Joe. And Farmer Joe and the mothers and wives show up and they cook, and it's really a really exciting experience. I love it. But, food is being made and the kids are all being taken care of at the same time, and everybody's on Farmer Joe's. And Farmer Joe will look up and he'll say to James, which day do you want me to come over to you? And everybody will go over to James. And before you know it, everything is taken care of by the community. That's community. That Farmer Joe is grateful. He goes and he supports, and he knows it's a give and take situation. That's when he's thinking about himself. The world that we're living in, we're being guilted. That's a funny word, but anyway, we're being guilted into giving, and because we're giving under duress, there's a lot of resentment attached to the giving, which makes it not work, and that's why the planet is the way it is. We've been taught to give. You must give, and the minute you are in that must give place, it doesn't work. Your giving does not get very far. It does not have the deep purpose. The best time I can tell you when the giving is so wonderful and it's from a place of joy are the brownies in Christmas time, when they go around, brown owls or something, they go around with the baskets from one home to the next, and and there's a big basket, and kids are, people donate toys, or they donate a gift certificate or something like that. It's something and I talked about the cup and saucer, where the cup fills up and it's in the saucer. They're literally giving from their saucer. So they go to the supermarket and they buy groceries for themselves and they fill a bag for someone else. Do you know what I mean? That feels better. It feels better than taking $10 or $20 and throwing it in a bucket that goes where you don't know where it's going. You feel better. And then the kids and their parents go up to the door with the basket and they leave it on the door. They ring the doorbell and they give it to the family, and the eye contact is there, so the individual feels good, and this joy actually circulates between the two. So I think that's what you're talking about, but I think it's an individualistic thing. The person who is giving is feeling good. The person who is receiving is getting what they need, and they get to feel good as well.
So it's just a different perspective and maybe some different terminology.
Yeah. And the result is joy and happiness.
I wonder, this book, there seems to be a personal aspect to it, and it tells me that you've had some challenging times, and you mentioned where you grew up, and I wonder if this book is a response to that.
It is in many ways. I tend to share my story because I always feel you can't share it unless you've experienced it. You can't write a book, and all writing teachers tell us that we can't write a book unless we've walked that path. And that's basically it. I look back at my own journey, And I've processed through a lot of stuff through the writing of the book. And in processing, I'm able to share, and in sharing, I'm able to support someone else's growth. Because one of the things that I love is working in groups. And the reason for that is that as one person is sharing their story, someone across the room is processing, and they're getting far more. So we're no longer so much in our heads. There's a community sharing. Yeah, the energy is being shared of, this is what I've been through. This is a journey that I've experienced. This is what I'm trying to do to shift it. Someone over there might say, and I know that, and I took that path, and it did work. Or someone might say, well, that path didn't work so well. These are the reasons why it worked or didn't work. Yeah. So, very cool.
Okay, so you do a podcast weekly, and then also you have a website, and I wonder if you can tell us where people can find you if they're looking for more information.
Yes, the podcast is on blogtalkradio.com/Sonia Haynes. And if you go on to Blog Talk Radio and look up Sonia Haynes, you should be able to find that. And also my website is www.soniahaynes, SONIAHAYNES.com.
Okay, so we will put links to all of that on the CommunicationDiva.com front page on the for the show notes for this episode. And I want to thank you very much for the time you've taken to come and have this conversation, Sonia. It's a very interesting topic.
Thank you very much for having me. And as you are the communication diva, this is a perfect conversation, because this is talking about communicating with the self, with yourself. So I had great fun. Thanks.
Thank you. So that was Sonia Nadina Haynes, and I'm Jenn Swanson, and this is CommunicationDiva.com. And I hope that you will come and give us some feedback on what you've just heard, and let us know your perspective on what the power of money is. I want to give a special shout out today to our friends on the East Coast, especially in New York City, where they are waiting at the moment for Hurricane Sandy to hit. You are in our thoughts and prayers this day. I hope that the power failure that they're anticipating is short-lived, and that people are safe and secure and cozy in their homes, because of course it's coming into the end of October here, and it's getting cold and it's wet, and I imagine there's an awful lot of anxiety and worry about what is going to happen the rest of today and tomorrow. So shout out to you people on the East Coast. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you again next time.